Wife plotted to marry her lover, but husband devised retribution that derailed their secretive union. Being in the wrong place can bring trouble, unintended. At a red light, a man pulled up next to me, signaling for my window to roll down. He informed me I had a flat tire. Grateful, I drove into the Walmart parking lot on the right, got out and found a screw lodged in the tire tread, causing slow air leakage. What should I do next? I decided to go inside and buy a can of that temporary filler. Upon returning, I removed the screw, but air started leaking even faster. I quickly put it back, fixed the issue at a nearby gas station, knowing I was only 15 miles from home. I intended to monitor the tire's condition if it dropped too low and use the can of filler about 5 miles before reaching home. However, the tire's pressure kept dropping in the driver's side mirror, so I stopped at a convenience store, but they didn't have air. I experimented with the slime I made, and sure enough, green goo emerged as expected. I guess that's why it's called slime. Fortunately, the hissing noise ceased. As I prepared to return to my car, a colossal pickup truck pulled up with oversized tires. The driver must have been trying to appear more imposing. I recognized this vehicle. It was familiar. The door opened, revealing a tall man wearing cowboy boots and an overly large belt buckle. I smiled briefly, but my amusement vanished when the woman with raven black hair stepped out from the passenger side. It was Rachel, my spouse of 18 years. It was quite a shock. They didn't even notice my car parked nearby. It was a nondescript company vehicle, one of those unremarkable small imports. Perhaps they simply ignored an inconspicuous car like mine. They strolled into the store, holding hands, and she was laughing at something he said. The words he uttered seemed to strike me like a blow to the stomach. Unable to breathe or move, I remained stationary, feeling like a fool. Suddenly, it struck me I had encountered the man before. He was a caseworker at Rachel's mental health clinic office, where his truck often parked. The critical question that emerged was what connection Rachel had with him. His name surfaced, Jerry Garner, but my bewilderment deepened as to why Rachel wasn't at work. With resolve, I got back in the car and waited. When they exited the store, he assisted her into the car while holding cups of coffee. They departed, and I covertly trailed them. Their destination turned out to be our house, where he parked inside the garage. The garage door shut, obscuring my view of them. Despite waiting for half an hour, my concern about the tire kept me on tenterhooks. I continued to monitor it, yet couldn't ascertain if there was a leak. After 2 hours, the garage door reopened, and they passed me by. I waved a file folder in front of my face, but it was doubtful they would have noticed me. They were deeply engrossed in each other. Rachel wasn't done with work until 5, but it was just 2:30, giving me ample time. My first course of action was to enter and explore. I needed to pick up Toby at 4, and I had no idea how to address her. She was my 15-year-old daughter. I didn't know what awaited me inside, but hopefully I'd find some clarity. Upon entry, everything remained silent. The dripping sound from Toby's bathroom faucet, signaling a repair needed, echoed in the quiet. Other than that, only the air vents hissed softly. I looked around, but everything appeared ordinary. Upstairs, the bed was neatly made with fresh linens. My heart sunk, and I collapsed against the wall, sliding down to the floor, feeling devoid of sensation. Only one plausible scenario made sense to me. I apparently remained seated there for half an hour, my thoughts whirling aimlessly. I couldn't decipher my own thoughts. It was as if I had been medicated. My stomach felt uneasy, so I reached for a Sprite to calm it down. Feeling clammy and overheated, I returned to the bathroom, searching for a damp washcloth, which I soaked in the sink and splashed cold water on my face after wetting it. This provided some relief. However, upon closer inspection, I noticed something peculiar. The shower floor was still wet, indicating they had taken a shower before returning to work. Shocked, I retreated back into the bedroom and perched on the edge of the bed, stunned. It dawned on me that this was the same bed where my wife and her lover had recently been. This revelation struck me like a ton of bricks, and I recoiled in horror. Unsure of what to do next, I was at a loss. Undeniably, divorcing Rachel was inevitable, yet beyond that, I was at a loss. I had no legal advisors, knew nothing about the legal procedure, and still needed to collect Toby from school. What would I tell her? I forced myself out to the car, feeling as if I'd just endured a 10-day binge. My head throbbed, I looked haggard, and I wasn't roadworthy, but I couldn't leave Toby in limbo. It struck me then, she was the only constant in my life. In my daughter, I found my solidarity, ensuring her welfare guided all my actions. Whatever course of action I chose had to prioritize her wellness. As I arrived at the school pickup line, I saw her standing by the entrance doors, exuding an ethereal charm that tugged at my heartstrings. My daughter, Toby, bears a striking resemblance to her mother, with her almost Mediterranean complexion and dark hair, and eyes that shimmered deep brown, flecked with gold and green like hers. The doctor labels them hazel, but they were distinctively unique. She towered over others, growing taller than me, with long legs and an innate beauty. After she placed her backpack in the back seat, she climbed into the car to greet me with a kiss, but hesitated. "Dad, what's wrong?" she asked, worry coloring her voice. "Are you okay? Has something happened? Is Mom?" "Everything is all right," I told her, ensuring no one was hurt or ill. However, I needed to discuss something with her. "Let's drive to the park, and I will explain everything. Let me embrace you and converse. Hold your questions for now until we arrive, okay? But you're making me anxious, my child." She acknowledged, "But trust me, it will all be fine." I hoped it wasn't merely wishful thinking, as it took only a brief drive to reach the park. Many times, I pushed her on those swings, and Rachel and I often sat together on these benches, watching her play. The memories of happier times flooded my mind. Is this all that life will offer me now? Just remnants of better days? As we approached a bench, hand in hand, swinging our arms as we always did since she was small and learning to walk, I found it hard to articulate my feelings. "Just tell me what's on your mind, Dad," she implored, saying she could handle it. I confessed that I wasn't sure I could, but then the words tumbled out. I shared the entire story, every emotion with her. I moved along, tears streaming down my face. She stayed by my side, providing solace when I ran out of words. She snuggled up to me, whispering softly that we should return home and discuss with Mom. The outcome depends on her words. It seems bleak, but there's still a glimmer of hope. We need to hear her out. I kissed the top of her head, feeling proud. She was braver than I ever was. She indicated it was time to go, eager to drive. I offered, and she brightened up. She'd just received her learner's permit. A brief hesitation crossed her eyes, but it soon vanished. She drove carefully home, and Rachel's car was parked in the garage. It was time for us to confront the issue. She welcomed us with hugs and kisses, pretending as if she hadn't done anything wrong. Either she gave a flawless performance, or I had grossly misunderstood the situation. She suggested takeout for dinner tonight. It's on her. "I believe we should discuss something with you, Mom," Toby agreed. "Everything okay?" she asked, looking worried. "I'm unsure," Toby replied. "Let's find out." We went in, and I sat on the couch next to Toby while Rachel took her usual, but not so attractive chair. "What's up?" she asked with no signs of concern. "How was your day?" I inquired, giving her a puzzled look. "Just the usual," she replied. "Had lunch from the onion bin, thanks to a pharmaceutical rep. As always, it was hectic." "Why do you ask?" "So you were at the office all day," Toby confirmed. "Why so many questions? What's going on?" I inquired. "Were you not with Jerry Garner here at home this afternoon?" I asked, and her face paled. "No way," she insisted. "Are you accusing me, Oliver?" I countered. "I saw you, or perhaps you didn't notice anything." She began to stutter. "What's your motive?" Toby defended. "He's not lying. I was at work all day. You can check with Angel if you want." "No, I trust him, Mom," Toby interjected. "I think you're lying." "I won't ask Angel. She'd cover for you." "I'll phone David Jones. He's your superior, isn't he? I assume he won't defend you in this situation. Could you tell me his number?" "He's not here today," she replied, saying he'd call me tomorrow. "What's happening with you two? It seems like you're attempting to deceive me." "Exactly what are you charging me with?" It appeared as if she was mounting a counterattack. I believe you've been caught in your own deceit. That's what I said to her. We all know it. Why did you do that? I could see her contemplating. All right, I was here. She confessed. This is why I didn't want to inform you. I knew you'd question me and try to blame me for something. No one's blaming you right now, Toby stated, but you have implicated yourself by trying to make me believe my father is lying. You were attempting to discredit him to conceal your own deceit. What are you concealing, Mom? Are you having an affair with that man? You don't know him, Rachel protested. Why call him a man? Twice have I encountered him, and Toby expressed discomfort about his gaze towards me, but that's not the crux of the matter. Are you involved with him, Rachel? She glanced nervously between us, appearing trapped. She didn't desire it to unfold this way, she admitted. I wasn't prepared. He inquired about my readiness regarding Toby. She had fallen for Jerry, she confessed. She looked at me and apologized. Oliver, I'm sorry. It just happened. We worked closely together, you understand. He was merely. I can't explain. He seemed like the other half to me. We resonated, and I couldn't resist. We're in love. I intended to inform you when we were ready, as soon as both of us divorce and marry. I'm deeply sorry for the way this transpired. Things will work out. You'll still see your father whenever Jerry resides by the lake. He has a daughter, too. You know, he likes you and will be pleased. Are you insane? Toby exclaimed almost angrily. I'm not cohabiting with that scoundrel. He might intrude upon my room at night. I'll see my father whenever I wish because I'm moving in with him. You're the one I won't be seeing. How could you? She stormed upstairs, locking her room door. Rachel looked at me, but I remained silent. She'll calm down, she said. Jerry's a good man, Oliver. You'll see. It seemed like a different person had taken her place, someone I didn't recognize. I wasn't about to argue with someone so unstable. Whatever, Rachel, I responded. When are you leaving? Surprised, she asked. I'm not going anywhere. I have nowhere to go. Jerry is married, and we must inform his wife before doing anything else. We all need divorces first and to sort out the settlements. No, you're leaving, I insisted. You have 3 days. Her mouth dropped open. What are you talking about? You can't kick me out of my own house. If anyone should leave, it's you. I reminded her that I owned the house before we met, it was fully paid off, and in my name even before we got married. The house isn't a shared asset, it's mine alone. My name is on the deed, not yours. You're the one leaving my home, but where will I go instead? She asked, seemingly accused. Are you simply throwing me out? I responded indifferently, suggesting she might consider a hotel room, perhaps even one of those rented by the hour places known for harboring cheaters. Tears filled her eyes as she expressed how insensitive Oliver was to her. She explained that it wasn't deliberate, but rather something that happened between her and Jerry. They connected deeply, and she felt compelled to be with him. She didn't mean to hurt me, she said. I responded by comparing the situation to accidentally tripping and poking someone in the eye while running, as my mother had warned me. I understand now, but it seems all is well since it was an accident, she replied, asking me to avoid sarcasm. She then questioned why I couldn't accept that Jerry and she were in love, to which I responded sarcastically that perhaps it was because this morning she told me she loved me instead. She pointed out that she claimed to love him now, leaving me somewhat perplexed. It seems you still feel affection for you, Oliver. You declared that you would always love me. However, now you're in love with Jerry. Well, that settles it then. For 18 years, you told me you were in love with me, Rachel. I thought that was the reason we got married. It appears I was mistaken. No, we were in love, it seems. You reached for my hand, but I withdrew. If you're not gone within 3 days, Oliver, I'll ask the sheriff to remove you and throw your belongings in the driveway. Or perhaps, Oliver, you beg. You're scared now. It doesn't have to end this way. We can still remain friends. Jerry also wishes to be your friend. We have Toby to think about. I love you and don't want to lose you as a friend. It's too much to simply discard what we've shared. All I could do was stare at you, filled with sorrow and loss, but then the anger surged, replacing it. Are you out of your mind, Rachel? I won't be friends with that jerk, that's clear. Tell him if he encounters me, it should be fleeting, before he scurries away. As for you, now you're the foe. I plan to torch your house in 3 days. Then, I don't ever wish to lay eyes on your unfaithful self again. I'll contact a lawyer in the morning, and your divorce will be swiftly finalized. I retreated to the bedroom, leaving her making noise behind. It was mere background chatter to me. She continued to follow me, still insisting on being friends while I moved her belongings into the spare room. There were more clothes than I could carry at once, so I just stacked them on her and carried an armful to the spare room, where I hung them in the closet. She tagged along behind me. She lingered for a while, talking and watching me. When she went to hang up the clothes, I seized the opportunity to escape and lock the bedroom door. I heard her fumble with the doorknob in the hallway before she eventually departed after a few minutes. Toby texted me, "Are you all right, Dad?" She said not yet, but I'll respond later. All right, love you, text me if needed. She inquired if I could drive her to school in the morning. I replied that I didn't want to, but eventually agreed. After our conversation, I went back to bed, trying to decide what to do. I must have fallen asleep around 3 and was awakened by my phone alarm. I got up, took a shower, called my boss to explain about the divorce and request some days off. He granted me all the time I needed and expressed sympathy. After making coffee and preparing breakfast for Toby and myself, Rachel appeared as scheduled. She attempted to speak with us, but we chose to ignore her. Finally, it was time to take Toby to school, and Rachel asked if she was ready. Toby looked at Rachel, then turned to me and inquired if I was prepared, Dad. Ringing the keys, Rachel picked up her bag. "Immaturity much," she quipped before storming off, grabbing her purse and shooting us a final glare. After dropping Toby at school, she kissed me goodbye, then entered the building. Sitting in the car, I watched her vanish into the structure, my thoughts drifting to Dan, fresh from his divorce. I decided to reach out to him for advice on attorneys. He didn't recommend his own lawyer, but suggested I contact his wife's instead, providing me with the necessary details. Upon calling, a woman scheduled an appointment for that afternoon. To safeguard our finances, I reduced the credit card limits to $1,500. Even though it would limit my spending, I wasn't about to support Rachel's affair. The meeting with Elizabeth Baxter didn't begin on a positive note, as she presumed I was leaving Rachel for someone else, a misunderstanding I quickly clarified. I made adjustments regarding her. She's been unfaithful with a married CEO who wishes to divorce their respective partners for marriage between them. I expressed regret, stating that I cannot represent someone embroiled in such circumstances as it contradicts my values. She agreed. The topic of our daughter emerged. I wished to secure custody from the ensuing chaos. Is there a chance I could obtain custody? It's plausible. She acknowledged theoretically either parent might have a claim, but practically fathers, especially for girls, rarely receive custody. How old is she, and does she want to reside with you? She's 15, and she expressed her preference to be with me. I highlighted this aspect as it holds significant weight in court. She confirmed in our jurisdiction children aged 14 and above can choose their residence, while the preferences of younger ones are also considered. Given her age and desire to remain with you, it should tilt the scales in your favor. My only advice was to make every effort. I ended the discussion, driving home. I contemplated my subsequent actions, recognizing I must abide by the law as any misconduct could jeopardize my guardianship of Toby, a risk I was unwilling to take. Careful planning was essential, as I weighed every possibility and foreseeable outcome. Suspicions ran deep that Jerry's wife was unenlightened about the situation, similar to myself. Informing her that I've planned my approach, I decided to create a detailed strategy list, which would include informing her family. Her parents have always held me in high regard and are fond of Toby, so it's essential to let them know first, though I'm unsure about the best way to do it. Also important is ensuring all our friends are aware, and I thought creating a stir on social media would help shake things up. Rachel uses Facebook for our family, and I'm familiar with Messenger and its navigation. A search online led me to Jerry's wife's online presence, which I utilized by sharing screenshots of some pictures and announcing our separation on Rachel's page, along with a photo of Jerry, then changing the password and logging out. I found a sense of fulfillment, pondering over when her friends and relatives would deluge her phone and social media. I hoped Jerry's wife would grasp the message. Although I didn't know her personally, I felt a pang of remorse for the turbulence she was about to experience. However, I believe she'd rather know the truth than remain in the dark. I phoned my mom, and the discussion wasn't as smooth as anticipated, given her initial shock. But she promised to inform Dad and support me. Regardless, I decided to let Rachel take charge of disclosing the truth to her parents. We shared a strong bond, and I didn't want to instigate any family discord, nor did I know how to approach such a sensitive topic. The phrase, "your daughter is cheating," didn't seem appropriate, as they might direct their blame at the messenger instead. The situation spiraled quickly, and by 2 p.m., Rachel's name appeared on my screen. You grabbed her, and she became enraged, calling me a jerk. Her initial words gave me an odd sense of satisfaction. You couldn't resist stirring things up, could you? I know you blocked me from Facebook and posted those things. Jerry's wife is oblivious. My friends continue to call, asking for updates. Even my parents are aware of the situation. I told you to remove it. No, you don't have control over these matters, I retorted, questioning her maturity level. Take it down, Oliver. I was serious. Why should I? I dared you to be pleased about this situation. Everyone can adapt to you and your significant other. Are you embarrassed about people learning you cheated, Rachel? I'm not. It sounded so absurd, Oliver. Please just take it down. This isn't how things were supposed to unfold. You lost any authority over the situation the moment you cheated. I reminded her that you forfeited any claim to my respect or even basic courtesy. Now, you are my adversary. Deal with it, Rachel. My phone rang immediately after I hung up, but I chose to disregard it. It was time to collect Toby, and I shared with him my recent chat with Elizabeth Baxter, which had relieved her significantly. She seemed unlikely to be present. She wasn't entirely pleased overall. Her father was the subject of her question. I care about her, but she has always been somewhat eccentric. It's as if she and I are both children in her eyes. Not that way. Upon your mention of it, I acknowledged this observation. She has always been rather impulsive, but that's just her nature. Frankly, I didn't anticipate such behavior from her. In any case, we would handle the situation as best we can, she replied. Dad, she said, I never want to spend time alone with that pervert in our home without you around. Whatever is necessary to prevent that, I will make it happen, I assured her. We picked up pizza on our way back, and my phone rang again during the meal. It was Bob, Rachel's father. I wasn't looking forward to this conversation. I informed Toby about the person, and she recommended using the speakerphone. Bob didn't hesitate, Oliver. I'm uncertain about the situation, but Rachel appeared at our place last night, asking if she could stay with us. Are you aware of this? I asked, to which she replied that you had kicked her out. Yes, I did, but she didn't offer an explanation then. She promised to later. Did you ask her why? I inquired. She mentioned that Rachel was having an affair with Jerry Garner, a colleague. He's planning to divorce his wife. She was intending to leave me, and now they're together. Is this true, Oliver? How do you know? I explained that I saw them together the previous day, and she confirmed it. Are you certain there's no confusion? He pressed on. Toby intervened, saying, Hello, Grandpa. I've been listening. Dad has you on speaker. There's no misunderstanding. I was present when she informed him. Her voice cracked as she said, I'm sorry, Grandpa. I love you. He heard her when he spoke again. Strained was his voice. Don't weep, my dear. Be strong instead. All right, Grandma, I adore you deeply. I'll make an effort to reason with your mom, Oliver. Are you still there? Yes, I apologize, Bob. Fret not about Toby. Both of you will forever remain her grandparents. I know you cherish Rachel and will act accordingly. I harbor immense respect for you that words can scarcely express. I hope we won't hold any resentment towards each other after this is settled. This won't happen, he reassured me. He vowed to find solutions. Contact me if you require assistance. The conversation unfolded better than anticipated. Life often tosses unexpected challenges. One does one's best to cope. I shan't delve into the complexities of the divorce process as many are already familiar with it. The ordeal was protracted, painful, and never became easier. Rachel seemed to harbor unrealistic hopes. In my expectation, I was awarded custody of Toby, but that didn't occur. Miss Baxter demonstrated her proficiency in the proceedings. The court granted me full custody due to Toby's preference to reside with me following a private meeting. The judge decreed Rachel could have visitation rights, but not unsupervised time with Toby and Jerry Garner. However, this became immaterial as his divorce ensued, and it was discovered their bond wasn't as strong as presumed. 2 weeks post-discovery of their affair, he moved on, rendering our previous plans obsolete. The legal proceedings took 7 months to finalize the divorce. Unexpectedly, during our second court appearance, Rachel proposed counseling. Neither I nor Miss Baxter were able to dissuade her from this decision, and the judge mandated it. We attended 8 to 10 sessions, ending up with an unusual old hippie therapist in our first meeting. Rachel's objectives were a complex tangle. Mine were clear-cut. It appeared she thought the universe revolved around her happiness, causing no harm but only seeking it for herself. My goal, on the other hand, was straightforward. Mr. Barron asked about my intentions for these sessions. I simply want them to conclude. He inquired if I wished to discuss the matters that ended my marriage. I replied negatively, stating those issues were not mine and I hold no interest in revisiting them. I am satisfied with who I am, flaws and all. Rachel and Mr. Guru seemed taken aback by my response. Rachel intervened, pressing Oliver, "How can we progress if you refuse to discuss this?" "We won't revert," I asserted firmly. "Let me clarify. I don't aspire to return to the past or rectify anything. I only attend these sessions because the court mandated it. Once that requirement is met, we will finalize our divorce. That's my strategy." Mr. Spirit Guide cautioned me, saying if I failed to cooperate, I could be held in contempt of court. However, I was unaware of this possibility. I replied to your inquiry. Are you implying deceit towards the judge? These meetings are recorded. My attorney could summon the recordings and reveal your untruthfulness. I'm carrying out as requested, as you asked for my intentions, and I have conveyed them. He appeared embarrassed. Perhaps the judge anticipated you would attempt to resolve your matters. I clarified that I am answerable only for my own expectations. He complicated matters. He assigned tasks such as dedicating considerable time with Rachel, who made efforts to wear me down. What specific action is required from you to halt the divorce and reconcile? She inquired about a miracle. I responded, waiting for her to elaborate, but remained silent. She queried, "What do you mean by a miracle?" "A divine intervention," she pressed further. "Well, unless you possess the ability to reverse time and annul your affair with Jerry, nothing will change." I explained that only God is known to possess such powers. "Have you gained some hidden abilities, Rachel?" Beyond using allure to charm other men, we persevered through monotonous workouts and fruitless discussions until they eventually ceased. Upon our return to the courtroom, the judge asked if any advancements had been made. The client expresses no desire to continue his marriage with Elizabeth, according to attorney's statement. We seek an expedited divorce proceeding as the client and his daughter have suffered long enough. Fortunately, the judge granted this, and 10 days later, the divorce decree arrived via post. Toby spent considerable time with her mother, especially given her fondness for her grandparents. Rachel occasionally arranged plans with Toby, but their bond wasn't as strong as before. Mostly, Toby socialized with friends, particularly Sabrina, who almost became a permanent fixture at our home. Sabrina was charming and amiable, making her enjoyable company. They began to involve me in their activities, one of their favorite pastimes being water skiing since we owned a boat, often spending Saturdays at nearby lakes during summer months, with vacations commencing on Mondays. Was there a possibility for us to take our RV to the lake over the weekend, as I had few plans? I found that suggestion quite appealing. Toby and Sabrina had been planning since the week prior, and by Thursday evening they had packed everything required. On Friday afternoon, a brand new red Jeep Cherokee arrived at our driveway, and Sabrina emerged. A woman almost identical to her stepped out from the driver's side, and Toby hastened to embrace her. He introduced her as his dad, Julie Sabrina's mom, whom I hadn't yet met. She greeted me politely, mentioning that her daughters had spoken extensively about me, expressing gratitude for the invitation. There was a hint of jealousy in her tone, admitting that they spent more time with me than with her. A mischievous grin spread across her face, explaining why Sabrina was so charming. My gaze shifted to Toby, who shot me a stern look, making my knees tremble. The trembling intensified when Sabrina raised an eyebrow, and I knew I had little choice but to yield. It promised to be an enjoyable weekend. I informed Julie about rediscovering my voice. We usually enjoy each other's company, and she quickly caught on. She looked between me, the girls, then back at me. "Oh my goodness," she exclaimed. "Did you not know this?" Before she could finish, she was engulfed in hugs, kisses, and pleas for mom. "Don't worry," Sabrina comforted her. "It's fine. Julie's dad will like you just as much as I do, and he's fantastic." Toby added, "Watch how he's getting along with it." She disentangled from the girls and addressed them, instructing them to sit on the porch. "I need to talk to Oliver." They hesitated, but she persisted. Now they complied and hurried off. I apologized to Oliver. "I'm taking Sabrina and leaving. She's grounded for a month. This is so mortifying." She appeared small and embarrassed, so I approached her, hugged her. At first, she tensed, but then relaxed. "Yes, it's mortifying," I agreed. "They're mischievous, but harmless. I assume you're not married." She giggled, gazing at me. Cute as a button, she wasn't what I suspected. I assured her. "The plan for the weekend is all set. The lakes are clear. It's going to be fantastic. I'm not a troublemaker. You've seen that with Toby around. Let's proceed. It promises to be fun, and who knows, we might give them a bit of a shock. What do you think?" She hesitated, glancing at the girls waiting eagerly, and then agreed or said, "Let's do it." I gave them a thumbs up, and they bounced excitedly towards us. Toby's affirmative followed. I stopped them, taking one girl under each arm. "Ladies," I admonished, "that wasn't appropriate." Sabrina looked at me and mimicked Skeletor's laugh. "I'm not nice," she mocked. We all laughed. They were too cute and innocent. "You know your intentions." I reprimanded gently, but Toby defended, saying, "I just wanted you to meet her." She was referring to a jeweled item, I assumed. "You didn't need to hint. I saw her look sad." "It's all right, sweetheart. No more surprises, I promised." Her face brightened again as Sabs tugged on my arm. "Let's go. I can't wait. This is going to be fantastic, Oliver." Julie just laughed. "She's correct. We're losing daylight." We grabbed 2 bags from her Jeep and jumped in the boat. After a brief stop for propane, we were off. It took around half an hour to reach the lake with Julie sitting up front next to me. The girls played awful music through their Bluetooth, and we began getting acquainted. As it turned out, Julie owned an insurance company and provided financial planning. I couldn't help but steal glances at her during our conversation, man. Julie, 3 years younger than me, stood around 5 feet 7 inches tall, sporting long, light blonde hair that reached her lower back, a hint of a tan, and big, beautiful brown eyes. Her high cheekbones, heart-shaped face with a widow's peak, and broad forehead made her strikingly attractive. Dressed in jeans and a button-up top, she showcased her slender figure. To avoid staring, I waited until we reached the lake before fully appreciating her beauty. We found a spot to park the boat and RV. They asked me to leave while they changed, during which I took care of connecting the water supply. After changing into swim trunks and a t-shirt, we were ready to go with a cooler full of drinks. With the no-wake zone left behind, we set sail. We accelerated, traveling a few miles across the lake as the girls eagerly awaited water skiing. They discarded their long t-shirts, displaying their usual endearing awkwardness. However, Julie stood out distinctively. Unlike them, she exhibited no awkwardness. I noted her slenderness, but she was more petite than anticipated. She possessed a graceful feminine form, and when she turned to watch the other girls, I found myself captivated by her. Her bikini wasn't stylishly modern, but it struggled to conceal an impressive backside. It was compact, round, firm, and prominently noticeable when she caught me glancing. She just smiled and winked in response, showing no embarrassment. She had small breasts, but they were proportionate on her frame, appearing perfect rather than diminutive. Her entire appearance exuded a miniature essence of flawlessness, even her teeth adding to the perfection. I chuckled at the moment. In regards to our interaction with Julie, I should clarify she's a woman. She approached me, seeking a conversational spot while keeping an eye on the girls. We spent 3 hours water skiing, and Julie displayed impressive skills. When it was my turn to drive, she skillfully maneuvered the boat. Admittedly, I wasn't as proficient as either her or the girls due to the lack of physics working in my favor. Nevertheless, I managed well upon our return to the campsite where they donned wraps. Despite a functional stove inside the RV, the girls insisted on cooking outside. We set up an outdoor camp stove and ignited a fire in the grill at our site while I grilled bratwursts. They prepared potatoes, onions, and pork and beans by chopping, frying, and opening cans. Although we'd prepared some meals at home, our first night's camp cooking tasted wonderful. We feasted at the provided picnic table, feeling like old friends. Julie transformed into Jules as per the girl's nickname, a title she seemed to appreciate. She also shared that she wasn't married, which the girls frequently mentioned. Why do I remain unattached despite being attractive, humorous, intelligent, and self-employed? You wondered, to which she eventually responded, explaining that primarily there was Sabrina. She revealed that she was still young and naive when she became pregnant in her senior year of college, a week before graduation. At the time, she thought she had found the love of her life, with plans for marriage immediately post-graduation. However, those plans did not come to fruition, as indicated by your conversation in the past tense. 3 days following my revelation to Brad about his infidelity, I severed ties with him and never looked back. Upon Sab's birth, I found myself wholly engrossed in motherhood, subsequently focusing on cultivating my business. As time passed, I found myself contemplating dating again, yet a realization dawned upon me: the significant role Sabs plays in my life as a divine gift. My decisions are no longer made independently. Her welfare is my foremost concern. Upon expressing my sentiments about Toby, I affirmed that she comes first, emphasizing her paramount importance to me. As Julie gently touched my arm, she whispered, "I know she shares everything with Sab and me." With a sorrowful tone, she added, "I'm sorry, Ollie." We both acknowledged the challenging nature of life in a brief exchange. Our attentions were drawn to two sets of eyes locked on us as they engaged in a hushed conversation beneath the shade of their camp chairs. I admitted my affection for your daughter. She seems to be almost family, spending so much time with us. She expressed her love for you as well, Julie said the other day. You remind her of the father she never had, tears glistening in her eyes. I tenderly wiped away a tear with my finger. What an incredible girl she is. I noted that her mother must be extraordinary to have raised such a strong individual. She smiled through teary eyes, stood up, gave me a kiss on the cheek, and rejoined the girls. We had an exceptional weekend as Julie was leaving. Upon her departure, I approached her car, tapped on the window, and asked, "Jules, would you consider going out with me next Friday at 6 o'clock?" Sabrina squealed with joy, and Julie flashed a smile in response. "It seems like we're planning dinner and something else afterward, right? Also, Toby could spend time with Sabrina while we're out, which sounds great." She agreed and gave me a kiss before leaving. Toby was already there at the door when I arrived. She asked if I had asked her out and if I kissed her. I hugged her and lightly slapped her bottom. "Yes, I did, and it's between us." Sabrina was eager and excited. "I think she's perfect for you, Dad. To me, Sabrina is like a sister." I didn't say anything, but if I hadn't encouraged things, you probably wouldn't have acted. You can't force it, Toby. Stop trying to play matchmaker. She leaned into my chest. "I know, Dad, but if I hadn't nudged things along, you might not have made a move. I don't mind being the only woman in your life. You'll always hold a special place in my heart that no one else can reach. You're my baby, and that will never change." She hummed contentedly for a bit before venturing off on her own, following the course of their initial encounter. I escorted her to play racquetball, a new endeavor for her, but given her past experience with tennis, she swiftly adapted to the related techniques. Once she grasped the regulations and the art of bouncing the ball off the walls, she displayed an impressive agility, her inherent athleticism undeniably benefiting her performance. She was quick as lightning and effortlessly maneuvered direction changes. After concluding our match, we moved to a table outside the courts for refreshments and relaxation, sharing drinks while catching our breath. At her prompting, we took a photograph with our rackets and goggles in hand, which her phone swiftly captured, preserving a cherished moment instantly. Post this, we both cleansed ourselves and I treated her to dinner afterward. We savored some scrumptious Italian cuisine, fully satisfying our hunger. After finishing our wine, Jules seated herself beside me in the booth, and we relaxed, whispering comfortably. It seemed instinctive for me to drape my arm around her. And so I did. She moved closer to me, displaying a radiant smile that made me think how endearing she would remain even as she grew older. This charm was something that would accompany her when we reached her house. She drew nearer, her eyes gleaming with expectation. I could sense her yearning for a kiss, so I moved in and kissed her. To be honest, I desired to kiss her more than she wanted me to. The kiss lingered delightfully. Her lips felt velvety and soft, tasting like a blend of wine and cherry chapstick. As we drew away, I saw motion behind the curtains. It seemed we had an audience. I commented, she laughed, sounding much like her daughter. I'm not surprised. You know, it seems they're planning something for us. Doesn't that concern you? I asked. She blushed. No, not at all. I enjoy every bit of it. Apparently, I've learned quite a lot about you, Ollie. Same here. I suggested we slip back inside before they pulled the curtains open, revealing we'd been out here for 4 solid months. Our Friday outings had become a ritual, each one pulling us tighter together. I was itching to take things further with her, but I didn't want to push too fast. As our late-night talk stretched on, I started catching glimmers of something deeper than just friendship. Jules wasn't just my girlfriend, she was one of my closest friends too. We kept the connection alive all day with a constant stream of texts, snaps, and calls. Whenever I stumbled on something hilarious or intriguing, Jules was the first person I'd think to share it with. The more we let each other into our lives, the stronger our bond grew. We fell into a Tuesday night habit of grabbing dinner together, and those evenings became something I treasured. We'd hang out, play games, and I got almost as attached to her kid, Sabs, as I was to her. The two of them were so alike no one, and you pretty much got the other. They had their disagreements, but they both possessed an endearing charm, making their differences more noticeable while accentuating their shared qualities. Life was generally harmonious, but Rachel's continuous presence remained a persistent irritation. Although she was part of Toby's life, she inadvertently became a part of mine as well. I had no desire to engage with her, and her presence always managed to aggravate me. Whenever she arrived to pick up Toby or dropped him off at her grandparents', she would try to initiate a conversation. She was still residing with them, having lost her job at the clinic alongside Jerry and now working at another clinic on the opposite side of town. When Rachel became too bothersome, I would subtly bring up Jerry as a means to silence her. During one such moment, she inquired about forgiveness. "How long until you forgive me?" I replied. "For what? I've never heard you admit to anything wrong." Later on, she expressed remorse. "I'm sorry, Oliver. I was wrong. I tried to make Toby think you were a liar. I'm sorry. I endeavored to seize her from you, aimed to swindle you during divorce proceedings, and worst of all, I've never expressed remorse. I was unfaithful and slept with that contemptible man without your knowledge. Even when confronted, she wouldn't acknowledge her wrongdoings, leaving me uncertain about forgiveness. I came to terms with the predicament and moved forward, not forgetting but refusing to dwell on bitterness. After all, people can act thoughtlessly. People have the prerogative to divorce, end friendships, and you must accept these outcomes and move forward. Daily unfortunate events occur, including betrayals. However, it was futile to seek retribution against the offenders since their punishment was simply living with their actions. I decided to distance myself from the deceit and concentrate on improving my life. Rachel appeared discontented, held no malice toward Jerry, but had no intention of avenging him. However, when she discovered I was dating Jules, her misery escalated. One evening, as I dropped Toby off at her grandparents', Rachel confronted me about the rumor that I was dating Jules, who is a parent to one of Toby's friends. She inquired if it were true. My response to her was curt, "That's my concern." To which she reacted sharply, stating that as my spouse, she deserved to be informed. I responded bluntly that I had nothing to share with her. "You're no longer my partner. You found your true love elsewhere, not with me. Our divorce means our personal matters are no longer each other's concern. Rachel, keep out of my affairs." That night, I felt enraged as I walked away. She persisted in her pursuit and unloaded her frustration onto Toby. After that incident, I ceased bringing Toby to her grandparents' place or allowing Rachel to pick her up from our house. Instead, Bob or Cindy came to collect her, reducing stress in my life. On the 7th-month anniversary of our lake trip, I took Jules out. We dined at a fancy restaurant and later visited a club. That evening, she drank more than usual, which surprised me slightly. As she ordered another round, she smiled and said she was feeling reckless. "You're still as wonderful as ever," I told her approvingly. "Do you really think so, Ollie? P.S. This is a creative work, inspired by the provided text, and not meant to imitate any real-life events or individuals." She leaned her head to one side, a familiar gesture suggesting she found me equally flawless. "If I'm so flawless, why haven't you invited me to stay the night?" This question seemed to take you aback, causing you to laugh. Have you given it any thought? I quickly regained my composure. Ever since that first day on the boat, when I saw you in that bikini, I've been thinking about little else. When we started dating, I realized there was something unique, something special about you, and I didn't want to rush or frighten you. But you won't scare me away. You assured me. I told the girls not to wait up for real, right? So, why are we still here? I asked. "Oh my goodness, Jules, let's leave this place. Would you like to spend the night with me?" In no other moment was I more enveloped than now as we walked together, her head resting on my shoulder and clutching my arm firmly all the way home. I led her to the bedroom upon arriving at the garage, and she stayed by my side closely. At the foot of the bed, I turned her around and kissed her passionately, one of the most memorable kisses I'd ever had. The kiss lingered, it seemed endless. Upon breaking away for a breath, she looked up at me with eyes so warm and brown that I felt lost in them. Her arms encircled my neck, meeting my gaze intently. "Make love to me, Julie Barnes," she whispered softly. She confessed her fear, but I comforted her. I reminded her of my love for her, a sentiment she was well aware of. However, I knew she needed to hear it again. "I love you too, Oliver," she responded as I positioned myself over her carefully, ensuring not to put too much weight on her. This wasn't the first time, I wondered aloud, but she seemed to need this confirmation. Whispering in her ear, I said 3 words. She mumbled a response, yet not like before. We fell asleep entwined, and twice during the night. We made love once at my initiative and once at hers. The next morning, I found myself on my back with her partially atop me, her hair shielding us. As I idly stroked her hair, she stirred, moved closer, and sighed contentedly. "I feel like I belong here," she murmured, Ollie. "Would you like to wake up here every morning?" she asked. I was about to respond when she paused, eyes searching mine. "You mean live together?" she guessed. "No, sweetheart," I corrected. "Well, yes, but I mean, will you marry me?" Julie Barnes suggested. She lifted her left hand between our faces and wiggled her fingers. "Something seems to be missing," she noted. "I'll hold the thought," I replied, starting to rise from bed. "Hold that thought," she said, "but I can't hold this. I need to use the restroom so badly." I chuckled and playfully swatted her behind, causing her to squeal before she darted off. A sprite-like figure, she quickly disappeared, leaving me to make my way to my office with a brief detour for myself. From my safe, I retrieved the necessary item. Upon my return, she was huddled under the blankets. I joined her and took her hand again, gazing into her eyes filled with affection. "Julie," I asked, "will you marry me?" Sliding the ring onto her finger, it proved to be too large, but for now, it would suffice. She studied it closely, complimenting its beauty and remarking that it seemed old. "Remember when I mentioned attending an auction?" I replied. "Yes," I recalled. "Wasn't it a state auction?" "Indeed," I explained. "I had seen this ring in the catalog and went with the intention of purchasing it for this very purpose. It was made in England around 1810 for the Duchess of Avon and has quite an interesting history." "Do you like it?" I queried. She responded that she loved it, calling it the most beautiful ring. "Have I ever seen anything like this before? Will you respond to my query? What's your question about?" "Ah, yes, it's Oliver." "Yes, indeed. I'll marry you." "Oh my goodness." "Yes." I chuckled and tightly embraced my fiancée. "We need to take some photos with the girls," she suggested.